At my daughter's wedding, which I paid for in full, her groom introduced me to his rich parents and loudly declared, "This is the old pig we have to put up with." Everyone burst out laughing until his father turned pale and croaked, "Wait, aren't you Floyd King? Aren't you my new boss starting Monday?" The laughter died in a second. 150 guests froze, and I just smiled. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The phone vibrated against the nightstand at 11:47. I fumbled for it in the dark, knocked over my reading lamp. A chess knight from the board beside my bed rolled onto the floor. Daddy, I'm sorry it's so late. I don't know what to... Inez, what's wrong? Are you hurt? No, Wesley and I, we can't... The wedding venue wants the deposit, and we can't afford what we need, and... My daughter's voice cracked like glass under pressure. I sat up, tried to clear the fog from my head. Slow down. Tell me what's happening. She explained through tears. The Bellevue Hotel. $35,000. Non-negotiable. Wedding in 3 weeks. My retirement account flashed through my mind, the one I'd been building for 40 years, the one that was supposed to last me another 20. I'll come over, I said. Give me 30 minutes. Northern Liberties looked different at 7 in the morning than it did in daylight. The coffee shop on the corner hadn't opened yet. I climbed 3 flights, knocked on apartment 3C. Inez opened the door with yesterday's makeup smudged under her eyes. Wesley lounged on their couch in sweatpants, thumb scrolling across his phone screen. He didn't look up, didn't stand, just kept playing whatever game had his attention. Wesley, morning? Hey. His eyes never left the phone. I'd seen better manners from teenagers at the mall. Inez gestured me toward the kitchen table, where papers covered every surface. Inez says you two are having trouble with the wedding venue? Wesley finally glanced up, but only for a second. Yeah, her budget's tight. We need Bellevue, though. Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. My parents are hosting their friends. Can't look cheap. Inez's face flushed red. Wesley, don't... What? It's true. Your dad gets it. Right, Floyd? I noticed the watch on Wesley's wrist first. Omega. The silver band caught the morning light streaming through their kitchen window. $8,000 minimum. I knew because Hosea had shown me the same model online last Christmas. Then I spotted the empty whiskey bottles lined up near their sink. Top shelf. $100 a bottle. Daddy, I hate asking, but $35,000. I know it's $35,000. Wesley finally looked up, met my eyes for the first time since I'd arrived. Bellevue's the only option. My parents would die if we did it somewhere lesser. Your parents. Where are they in this? They've got their own expenses, you understand. I'm starting to. Wesley scratched his neck. The gesture reminded me of every liar I'd negotiated with in 35 years of corporate work. I'm between projects right now. Things are tight. But once this merger goes through... What merger? The one I'm consulting on. Big deal. Can't talk about it yet, but... He waved his hand vaguely, went back to his phone. I pulled out my checkbook, the old-fashioned kind with the carbon copies. Inez watched my hand move across the paper, pressing down so hard the pen nearly tore through. She kissed my cheek when I handed it over. Wesley was already back on his phone. The drive home took longer than it should have. I missed my exit. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Not from age, from something else I couldn't quite name yet. Hosea called at 9:15. 6:15 his time in Seattle. Dad, you sure about this guy? Inez sounds different lately. He's fine. She loves him. That's not what you asked. I know what you asked. I found the chess knight later that evening wedged under my nightstand. 32 pieces on the board. $35,000 gone from my account. Both games I was apparently playing wrong. The text came Thursday morning while I poured coffee. Daddy, we need another $8,000 for music and flowers. Wesley said that's minimum for a normal wedding. The florist only does premium packages. Can you help? My cup froze halfway to my lips. I stared at the screen, the Nokia that Wesley would later mock at dinner. 8,000 more. I thought about the Omega watch, the empty whiskey bottles, the way Wesley's left eyebrow twitched when he said, "Between projects." My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Another message loaded. I didn't want to look. I walked into Vetri Cucina at 6:45, 20 minutes early for a dinner I already wanted to leave. The hostess led me through the main dining room to a private space in back, where Inez and Wesley sat with two people I'd never met. "Daddy, you made it!" Inez jumped up, kissed my cheek. Her smile looked painted on. "Oh, so you're Inez's father? How lovely. What do you do?" The woman extended her hand without standing. Rings on every finger. Diamond studs that could probably fund a semester of college. She looked me over the way someone examines produce at the grocery store, checking for bruises. "I'm retired. I was in corporate." "Retired? How nice. And your pension, it's sufficient? I hope you're not expecting us to... Wesley mentioned the venue costs were... Vidna, please." The man beside her wore a suit that cost more than my car payment. "I'm sure he's managing fine." "I'm managing." Hartley Howard barely extended his hand for the shake, pulled back quickly, wiped his palm on the linen napkin. Something about him looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. The servers brought menus thick as phone books. "You should see his phone. Dad, show them your phone." Wesley had started drinking early. His words came too loud, performed for an audience. "My phone works fine. It's a Nokia, from like 2010. He doesn't even have apps." Vidna's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "No smartphone? In 2025? Inez stared at her plate. "Wesley, stop." "What? It's funny. I tried to send him a photo and he didn't know how to open it." Hartley set down his menu, adjusted his cufflinks. The left one was slightly tarnished at the edge. "I don't understand people who don't keep up. In my firm, I wouldn't hire someone who couldn't navigate basic technology." "Good thing I'm not applying." The waiter appeared, spared me from whatever Hartley planned to say next. I'd seen executives like him before, the kind who projected success so loudly you almost missed the desperation underneath. He squinted at the wine list, finger trailing down to the bottom prices. "Would you like to see our reserve list? We have an excellent—" No. The house red is fine. The Chianti. That's perfectly adequate. The Chianti is actually our most economical option, which makes it smart. I didn't build my career wasting money on overpriced bottles. Vidna shifted her menu, angling it so no one could see her checking the prices. I caught her doing it twice. Wesley shredded his napkin into tiny pieces, building a small pile beside his bread plate. Professional project management in action. The dinner crawled forward. Wesley told 3 more stories about my technological incompetence. Hartley made comments about people not keeping up with the times, while ordering the cheapest items on the menu. Vidna asked pointed questions about my retirement savings, between compliments that felt like insults wrapped in silk. The check arrived at 9:30, $890. The waiter placed the leather folder in the center of the table. Everyone's eyes shifted to me at once. Not subtle, just simultaneous. "Well," silence stretched out like taffy. "I've got it." I reached for my wallet. Vidna's face lit up with something between relief and satisfaction. "How generous." "Well, at least he's useful as a wallet." Hartley laughed. Wesley laughed. I excused myself to the bathroom. My face in the mirror looked red. My hands gripped the sink edge, knuckles bone white. I stared at my reflection. 68 years old. Still standing, still breathing, still paying for other people's expensive dinners. The bathroom door opened behind me. Someone else came in. I ran cold water, splashed my face, composed myself like I'd done 1,000 times in conference rooms. When I returned, Wesley had his arm around Inez. "Your dad's not so bad, babe. Just, old-fashioned, set in his ways, but he means well." "Wesley, you're drunk." "I'm honest. There's a difference. Right, Floyd? We're all friends here." I forced a smile. It felt mechanical. Cold. "Sure, Wesley. Friends." The certified mail arrived Saturday morning. HR always sent important documents that way, even on weekends. I'd been expecting it. My new assignment at Quantum Crisis Solutions starting Monday. Department head. Crisis Management Division. Decent raise. Last assignment before full retirement next year. I poured coffee, opened the envelope, scanned through the welcome letter, the building access information, the org chart. Then I reached the subordinates list. My coffee cup stopped, midair. Hartley Howard, Senior Consultant. I read it again, then a third time. Pull out my phone and search the company directory. Found his photo. Same sharp suit. Same dismissive expression. That's why he'd looked familiar at dinner. I'd seen his file photo in the onboarding materials 3 weeks ago. Hadn't paid attention to the names. Hartley Howard, my new employee. Starting Monday, 9 a.m. The man who wouldn't hire someone like me. The man whose son had taken $43,000 of my retirement savings. The man who'd laughed when his wife called me a wallet. I started laughing. Not the polite chuckle from dinner. Something darker. Something that caught in my throat and turned into a sound between a cough and a growl. My phone buzzed. Text from Inez. Thank you again for dinner, Daddy. Wesley's parents really liked you? I looked at the message, looked at the letter. The laughter came back, but different this time. Colder. Monday morning was going to be very, very interesting. The tuxedo felt wrong. 20 years since I'd last worn it, and my body had decided to expand in creative ways. The collar dug into my neck while I stood outside the Bellevue at 4:45, watching guests arrive in groups, couples, families. I adjusted the bow tie for the third time. Inside, the grand ballroom glowed with that expensive golden light that only comes from charging $200 per person. I found my seat in the front row, one empty chair beside me where Hosea should have been. I'd told him not to waste money on a last-minute flight from Seattle. Now I wished I'd lied. The ceremony started at 5. Inez looked beautiful walking down the aisle, her dress trailing behind her like something out of a magazine spread. Our eyes met once. She looked away fast, focused on the flowers in her hands. Wesley stood at the altar swaying slightly. The groomsman beside him shifted closer, ready to catch him if needed. I watched Vidna through the whole ceremony. Her phone came up every 30 seconds. Flash going off. Different angles. She photographed the vows like she was documenting a crime scene. I counted. Hartley checked his watch twice during the I do part. The cocktail hour started at 5:45. I found the bar, ordered bourbon, planned to nurse it all evening. The glass was cold. My thumb made circles in the condensation while conversations flowed around me like I was furniture. Floyd King, you look like a man preparing for war. I turned. Eileen Baker stood there with a plate of shrimp and a knowing smile. My neighbor for 40 years. Retired journalist who still asked questions like she was working a beat. Just here for my daughter's wedding, Eileen. Sure, and I'm here for the free shrimp. I covered the crime beat for 30 years. I know that look. What look? The one that says somebody's about to learn an expensive lesson. I took a sip, let the bourbon burn down my throat. You always were perceptive. So who deserves it? The groom? His parents? Let's just say Monday morning is going to be educational. Eileen's eyebrows climbed. She opened her mouth to ask more, but someone called her name across the room. She squeezed my arm, moved away. I watched her go, then noticed her stop to chat with another guest. Their heads tilted together. Both glanced my direction. I'd said too much, even to an old friend. Information control was supposed to be my strength. I made a mental note. Keep my mouth shut from here on out. Near the bar, 2 women in expensive dresses huddled over champagne glasses. The Howards really outdid themselves with this venue choice. Didn't the bride's family pay for it? Oh, well, I'm sure the Howards contributed their guidance. Vidna was telling me they summer in the Hamptons. I thought they sold that property. A pause. Voices dropped lower. Between us, I heard Hartley had some investments go south. I kept my face neutral, but my ears were working overtime. Investments going south. That explained the cheap wine at dinner, the way Hartley had studied the bottom of the menu like he was decoding ancient texts. Young man! Yes, you there. I turned. An elderly woman with a cane pointed at me. She had to be 85 if she was a day. Ma'am? Could you bring me some of those little cheese things? My legs aren't what they were. I paused, looked down at my tuxedo, looked at her expectant face. Then I smiled. Of course. Right away. I fetched a plate of cheese canap, brought them back, set them on the table beside her chair. Oh, how lovely. Here. She pressed a $5 bill into my hand. That's very generous. Well, you fetched them promptly. Service is so important. I pocketed the 5, walked back to the bar. I'd been paid $43,000 to be insulted at dinner, $5 to fetch canap. This felt like a bargain. Dinner service started at 7:30, the ballroom filled with the sound of silverware and forced conversation. Vidna photographed her salad from 4 angles. I counted those too. The romaine lettuce was getting more documentation than most crime scenes. Hartley stood for his toast at 8:15. His chair scraped back, too loud. He knocked over his water glass, didn't notice the puddles spreading across white linen. I'd like to thank the family of, Inez for their participation in this joyous occasion. Participation, like we'd volunteered for a focus group. Wesley is very lucky to have found such a lovely girl, and her family has been very accommodating. The pause that followed could have swallowed a car. I'd heard better speeches from hostages reading ransom notes. To the happy couple. He sat down heavily. His wife patted his hand. Wesley stood next, louder than necessary, already drunk in that specific way where people think they're being charming. I also want to thank some people. Special thanks to some very special people. Someone at a nearby table whispered, "Is he okay?" "Actually, there's someone I want you all to meet properly." Wesley's eyes found me across the room. He grinned, that loose, wet grin. "Come on." He started walking toward my table. My grip tightened on my bourbon glass. Every instinct I had was screaming to leave, to walk out, to be anywhere else. But I stayed seated, watched him come closer. His hand clamped down on my shoulder, fingers digging in hard enough to feel through the jacket. The conversations around us dropped off one by one, like someone was turning down volume knobs. 150 faces turned our direction. Inez stood at the head table, her face pale. Hartley squinted through his whiskey haze, trying to figure out where this was going. Vidna had her phone up, ready to capture whatever moment her son was creating. I let Wesley pull me forward. Each step toward that table felt like walking into something I couldn't walk back from, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to. Wesley's grip on my shoulder tightened, steering me like I was a shopping cart. His hand was sweaty through my jacket. We reached his parents' table and he stopped, turned me to face the crowd like I was a trophy he'd just won. "Everyone, I want you to properly meet my father-in-law. This is Floyd. The old pig will have to tolerate for the next several years." He laughed. That braying sound people make when they think they're hilarious and want everyone else to agree. Vidna giggled into her napkin, her rings catching the light. "Wesley, you're terrible," she said, but she was smiling. "What? It's true. Sorry, Floyd, but someone had to say it." Hartley raised his glass, his face red from whiskey. "Well, at least he paid for this wedding. $43,000 buys him the right to be here. Has to be useful for something." More laughter rippled around the table. I stood there, let them have their moment. My face stayed neutral. My hands stayed relaxed. Inside, I was making lists. "You know what's actually the funniest thing?" Wesley kept going, warming to his audience. "Dad, show them your phone." Wesley, he still uses a Nokia, like from 2010. I told Inez it's embarrassing. We're at a wedding in 2025, and my father-in-law can't even... Hartley squinted at me. His glass stopped, halfway to his mouth. Wait a second." The laughter died. Something changed in his expression. I watched him process it, piece by piece. His face went from flushed to white in about 3 seconds. "Floyd, your last name is King?" "That's right. Floyd King. From Quantum Crisis Solutions." I gave him a small smile. "Guilty." Jesus Christ. His wine glass slipped from his fingers. It didn't break, just spilled red across the white tablecloth, spreading like blood. You're Floyd King. I got a letter Friday, starting Monday. Department head is... Oh, God." Wesley looked between us, confusion replacing his drunk confidence. "What? Dad, what are you..." "I'm starting a new job Monday, under Floyd King. This Floyd King." Silence spread across the ballroom like someone had thrown a switch. The clinking silverware stopped. Conversations died. 150 people held their breath. "That's correct, Hartley." I kept my voice level, professional. "You'll be working in my department, Crisis Management Division. Your first day is Monday, 9 a.m. I suggest you arrive on time. First impressions matter." We didn't know," I turned to Wesley. And that old pig remark, memorable phrasing. Let me make sure I have it right. I pulled out my small leather notepad from my jacket pocket, the one I'd carried through 35 years of negotiations. Clicked my pen deliberately. The sound was loud in the silence. Old pig will have to tolerate. That's what you said? I want to be accurate. I wrote it down. My handwriting was clear, careful. Wesley's face went from red to gray. I was joking. I didn't mean. Of course. Humor. I appreciate good humor. I looked at the notepad, then at him. I'm taking excellent notes. I'd spent $43,000 on this education. Might as well take good notes. Vidna's hand fluttered to her throat, touched the pearl necklace. Mr. King, we had no idea you were... We would never have... It was all in fun, you understand. Fun? Absolutely. I'm glad everyone had fun at my expense. Worth every penny of that $43,000. We'll explain to Inez that. I'm sure you will. You're very good at explaining things. See you Monday, Hartley. Floyd, can we... 9 a.m. Don't be late. I looked at Vidna, then Wesley. Oh, and Vidna, Wesley, you two don't work for me. Not yet, anyway. But I'm confident our paths will cross again. I'd seen better color in week-old milk than what was currently in Hartley's face. I walked away, didn't run, didn't rush, just measured steps across the marble floor, through tables of silent guests. Phones came up. I noticed them now. Multiple people filming, recording. This was going to be everywhere by morning. That thought hit me like cold water, but I kept walking. Dad! Dad! Please stop! Inez's heels clicked rapidly behind me. I stopped at the hotel entrance but didn't turn fully toward her. Inez. They didn't know about your job. It was just... Wesley was drunk. He jokes like that. It didn't mean anything. I turned then, looked at her face. The face I'd known for 30 years. It didn't mean anything. They like you. They said nice things at dinner, remember? Vidna said you were generous. She said I was useful as a wallet. Tears spilled down her cheeks, taking mascara with them. That was a joke, too. Everyone jokes like that at weddings. I didn't want to make a scene. Please, Dad, it's my wedding night. And you didn't want to ruin the evening. Yes. Is that so wrong? You stood right there, Inez. You heard what your husband called me. You heard your new in-laws laugh. You said nothing. I was going to talk to Wesley later, privately. Later, privately. After your father got publicly humiliated in front of 150 people. That was your plan. Don't do this. Please don't be like this. Not tonight. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw someone I didn't recognize anymore. I understand completely. Not tonight. Enjoy your wedding, Inez. The taxi was waiting. I got in, gave my address. My hands shook slightly when I pulled out my phone. Cornelius, it's Floyd King. Floyd, how was the wedding? Educational. Listen, I need to see you tomorrow, early. Can you do 8 a.m.? Sunday? Must be serious. You could say that. I need advice on workplace conduct policies, specifically regarding personal relationships affecting professional situations. Your son-in-law's father works for you. Starting Monday. And Corn, they just gave me every reason I needed. $43,000, and they call me an old pig in front of everyone. Pause. I heard him exhale. I'll put coffee on. This is going to be a long meeting. That's what I'm counting on. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again. And again. Text messages coming in rapid fire. I pulled it out and squinted at the screen. 3 messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Then Hosea's name. Dad, someone just sent me a video. What happened? Another buzz. Eileen. Floyd, you need to see what's online. I looked out the taxi window at city lights blurring past. Cornelius was still talking, asking questions about employment law and hostile work environments, but I wasn't really listening anymore. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Whatever I'd just started, it was already bigger than I'd planned. The taxi turned onto my street, and I realized I had no idea what Monday morning was actually going to look like. Sunday night, I slept 4 hours. Monday morning, I arrived at Quantum Crisis Solutions at 8:30, made coffee in my office, checked my watch every 3 minutes. Hartley was scheduled for 9. I told Fern to make him wait. At 9:15, she knocked on my door. Mr. King, your 9 o'clock is here. Thank you, Fern. Give me 10 minutes. She leaned closer, dropped her voice. He looks like he's about to vomit. If he asks for water, bring him some. Should I... Only if he asks. At 9:30, I told her to send him in. Hartley walked through my door with his hand extended. I ignored it, gestured at the chair across from my desk. He sat. His coffee cup rattled against the saucer when he set it down. Hartley, let's review your qualifications. Floyd, I wanted to talk about Saturday. This is a professional meeting, Mr. Howard. You'll address me as Mr. King or Sir. His face went red. Of course. Mr. King, I apologize for... Let's examine your resume. I pulled up my laptop screen, turned it so he could see. Side-by-side comparison. His resume on the left. His LinkedIn profile on the right. Goldman Sachs. Your resume says you were employed through March 2022. That's correct. Your LinkedIn profile says March 2021. That must be a typo. I meant to update which is the typo. The resume you submitted to HR or your professional networking profile. The LinkedIn. I was definitely at Goldman through. I slid a folder across my desk. Thick, prepared. According to my sources, you were terminated August 2021. Internal policy violations. They called it separation by mutual agreement in the paperwork, professional courtesy. But we both know what that means. His hand trembled, picking up the folder. Papers shook. How did you... That information is confidential. I spent 35 years resolving corporate crises. I know how to make phone calls. I know who to ask, and people talk to me. I let that sit for 10 seconds. His coffee cup rattled again. He didn't drink from it. Let's discuss your investment history. Cryptocurrency 2023. Care to explain? That's personal financial information. You have no right. I have the right to understand the financial stability of my senior consultants. If you're under extreme monetary pressure, it affects your judgment. So, $2.3 million. Lost between January and September 2023. That's not counting the margin calls. The color drained from his face like someone pulled a plug. Who told you that? Does it matter? The point is, you're desperate. You need this job. You need the salary. You need the benefits. I leaned forward, and I need to know if you can perform under pressure. So let's find out. I wrote on my notepad, tore off the page with a deliberate ripping sound. Client crisis analysis. Midwest manufacturing company facing labor disputes. Comprehensive assessment. Strategic recommendations. Risk mitigation options. 50 pages minimum. Due Friday, 5 p.m. 50 pages? That's 4 days. That's impossible for one person. Other senior consultants manage similar workloads. Is there a problem? No problem. Excellent. My door is always open if you need guidance, though I suggest you spend your time working rather than asking questions. I picked up my pen, started writing in another file. You may go. He stood, legs unsteady. That saucer had better rhythm than most jazz drummers. After he left, I sat there for 5 minutes. Didn't move. Just breathed. My phone buzzed. Text from Hartley. Mr. King, I've started the assignment. May I clarify the scope parameters? I ignored it. At 11:30, I drove to Cornelius's office. 10 blocks, but I needed the air. He had documents spread across his conference table when I arrived. Floyd, there's something you need to see. What is it? The property records you asked about. Hartley's house purchase in 2018. He slid papers across the table. Look at the financing documents. The cosigner on his loan. I read the name. Read it again. Inez King. My Inez? She was 21. This was 2016, 2 years before the actual purchase. He pre-qualified using her as cosigner for creditworthiness. She never mentioned this. She probably didn't understand what she was signing. Young, in love, he asked for a small favor. Now she's legally liable if he defaults. Does she know? Hard to say, but Floyd, they've been connected financially for 9 years, since before Wesley even proposed. I stared at my daughter's signature on the loan documents. 21 years old, barely out of college, and she'd signed her name next to Hartley Howard's. Co-borrower, jointly and severally liable. June 2016, 9 years ago. Wesley had proposed in January of this year. Inez had been financially tied to the Howard family for 9 years before she'd ever walked down the aisle. I set the papers down, picked up my phone, scrolled to her name. My thumb hovered over the call button. Cornelius was saying something about liability and default consequences, but I wasn't listening. 9 years. How long had they been planning this? Or was it worse? Had Inez known all along? The phone buzzed in my hand. Another text from Hartley. Mr. King, regarding the manufacturing sector, should I focus on union relations or supply chain vulnerabilities? I looked at the message, looked at my daughter's signature, started typing a response. Both, and everything else. That's what comprehensive means. Tuesday morning, I sat at my home office desk and made a phone call. Cornelius says you're discreet. I'm thorough, Marcus Chen said. Sometimes discretion is a side effect. I need background on 3 people. Financial, social media, public records, any legal issues. Family, my son-in-law and his parents. Pause. How deep do you want me to go? Deep enough to find what they're hiding. Not deep enough to break any laws. That's a narrow corridor. That's why Cornelius recommended you. He arrived at my house 2 hours later with a laptop and a folder already started. $5,000 retainer. I wrote the check without hesitating. By Wednesday afternoon, Ealing was sitting at my kitchen table showing me how to navigate Instagram archives. Floyd, you have to understand how Instagram works. People post what they want you to see. I'm aware of the concept, but they forget things stay public. Look at this. She turned her iPad toward me. Wesley's post from 2023. Atlantic City Boardwalk in the background. Cards visible on the table in front of him. That's Atlantic City. 3rd trip that month, and he's tagged at the poker tables and everyone. Nobody goes to Atlantic City for the beaches. Can you find more of these? Already did. 23 casino visits in 18 months. He scrubbed most of them, but the internet never forgets. I saved screenshots. He showed me how to view archived stories. I felt like an anthropologist learning to decode hieroglyphics. Except the hieroglyphics were pictures of Wesley's brunch. 23 visits to Atlantic City. Even the most devoted Bruce Springsteen fans don't go that often. Thursday morning, Marcus spread new documents on my dining table. Credit reports, court records, a USB drive with text message logs. The text came from a court subpoena. Different case. Wesley was a witness in a fraud investigation. His messages were part of discovery. Public record now. I plugged in the USB drive. Started reading. My jaw clenched tighter with each line. Wesley to Inez, March 2025. Is your old man rich? How much can he give us? Inez. He's not rich. He has retirement savings. I don't want to ask. Wesley. Then we're not getting married. I won't look like a beggar to my parents. I scrolled down. More. Wesley. You need to ask him. Make it sound urgent. Wedding venues are booking up. He'd coached her, given her the script. Every conversation about money mentioned me by name. Marcus pointed at another file. Vidna Howard, birth name Vidna Kowalski. From Welch, West Virginia. Changed her surname to Vidna Ashworth in 1995. Same year she met Hartley. Her father died in a mine collapse when she was 12. I opened the birth certificate. Poverty-level household. Coal mining town. She'd escaped that and built something else. Terrified of going back. It didn't excuse her behavior, but it explained it. The gambling debts were next. $47,000 across multiple platforms. Hartley's credit cards, 3 of them, $89,000 total, minimum payments, 2 months late. Thursday night, I stood up from my desk, walked to the bookshelf, pulled out the photo album I hadn't opened in years, found the picture from my wife's funeral. Inez at 15, standing beside me in her black dress. Both of us broken. I'd promised to protect her then. I sat heavily in the chair. The photo trembled in my hands. Tears ran down my face before I could stop them. My shoulders shook. All the control I'd been maintaining cracked open, and grief poured through. 10 minutes, maybe 15. Then I wiped my face roughly with my palm, shoved the photo back in the album, returned to my desk. Meanwhile, Hartley was dying at the office. I walked past his cubicle Friday afternoon. 17 empty coffee cups accumulated on his desk. I counted. Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Also, yes. At 5 p.m., he walked into my office with the bound report. His eyes were red-rimmed, his tie hung loose. I gestured at the chair. Started reading while he sat there. Wrong client industry on page 3. Misidentified regulations on page 7. Recommendations that would expose the company to liability on page 12. I marked errors with my pen, fast strokes in the margins. Hartley, have you ever worked in manufacturing crisis management? I? Not extensively. But I researched. This client is automotive parts. You've written recommendations for food services. The principles are similar. They're not. You've cited FDA regulations. Automotive parts don't fall under FDA jurisdiction. I flipped to pages faster. You've made 15 mistakes. Minimum. Some are factual errors. Some are strategic recommendations that would expose our client to liability. One is so fundamentally wrong that if they followed your advice, they'd face union lawsuits. I worked 80 hours this week and produced garbage. I don't pay for effort. I pay for results. Revise this. Monday morning, 9 a.m. That's the weekend. My wife's birthday dinner is Saturday. Cancel it or resign. Your choice. His face crumpled. He took the marked-up report and left. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed. Inez's name on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. Daddy? We just got back from Aruba. I know. I tried calling earlier, but you didn't pick up. I have so much to tell you about the trip. And I want to... We need to talk about the wedding, about what happened. Yes, we do need to talk. I know you're upset. Wesley explained everything to his parents. They feel terrible. I'm sure they do. Can we come over? Today, maybe? I want to fix this. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Just me? Or Wesley, too? Both of you. Daddy, you sound different. Tomorrow, Inez. I hung up, set the phone down. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Her and Wesley, probably expecting I'd lecture them about respect, and then forgive everything. I looked at the evidence spread across my desk. Wesley's gambling accounts, the text messages coaching Inez, Vidna's fake aristocratic background, Hartley's credit card statements, showing he couldn't even afford his own life. My phone buzzed. Text from Hartley. Mr. King, I'm working on the revisions. We'll have them ready Monday morning. I picked up one of the printed text messages. Wesley to Inez, March 15th. Your old man's sitting on retirement money doing nothing. We might as well use it. I took a photo of it with my phone, then another of the gambling account statement, another of Vidna's name change document. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. I was going to show my daughter exactly who she'd married, and I wasn't sure if I was saving her or destroying her. Sunday at 2 p.m. I heard their car pull into my driveway. I'd spent the morning arranging folders on my coffee table, like a prosecutor setting up a trial. Everything documented, everything proven. Wesley walked in first, tried that casual posture, legs spread, arm across the couch back. His foot tapped. Inez perched on the edge, purse clutched in her lap. Floyd, about the wedding. That whole old pig thing? That was just drunk talk. Wedding humor, you know. Everyone says stupid things when they're... Sit down, Wesley. I'm just trying to explain. Sit down. Inez's voice came quiet. Daddy, please. We came to apologize. Did you? Then apologize. Wesley leaned forward. I'm sorry you were offended by... Stop. I slid the first document across the coffee table. Wesley, tell me about your online gambling accounts. My what? Your accounts, plural. BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel. $47,000 in debt across 3 platforms. Care to explain? His hand reached for the document. Pulled back, reached again. Decided not to touch it. How did you... That's private financial information. Your Instagram posts from Atlantic City aren't private. 23 casino visits in 18 months. Public blockchain records of cryptocurrency gambling aren't private. Your credit score, 5.8 IEs, isn't private from someone who knows how to look. So, explain. Okay, I had some bad luck, but I'm working on it. Working on it how? Your startup went bankrupt in February. You haven't drawn salary since January. How exactly are you working on $47,000 in debt with no income? I laid out the text messages one by one, creating a timeline on the table. His left eyebrow shot up like it was trying to escape his face. Then his hand went to his neck. I'd seen criminals on witness stands with better poker faces. Let's talk about these. I gestured at the printed text. Read them. Inez picked up the first one with trembling hands. How did you get these? They were obtained legally through a court subpoena. Wesley was questioned in a fraud investigation. Read them. She read aloud, voice shaking. Is your old man rich? How much can he give us? Wesley, you wrote this. Babe, that's out of context. He's not rich? He has retirement savings. I wrote that. I remember writing that. She picked up the next message, set it down carefully like it might break. Then we're not getting married. I won't look like a beggar to my parents. You said we wouldn't get married unless I asked my father for money? You're making it sound worse than... Make it sound urgent. Wedding venues are booking up. He'll want to help. You gave me a script. I laid out the evidence like a dealer at a blackjack table, appropriate given Wesley's hobbies. Wesley stood suddenly, aggressive. I stood too. Okay, fine, yes. I knew your father would pay for the wedding. So what? So what? He's sitting on retirement money doing nothing. You're going to inherit it eventually anyway. What's the difference if we use it now? And that's why you married her? For the money? I married her because she was easy. She believed everything I said, and her father was a sucker with a checkbook. The words hung in the air. Inez's face went white, then red, then crumpled like paper. I turned to her. My voice came quieter now. Did you know about his gambling debts? Silence. Inez, answer me. A whisper. Yes. Since when? December. December, 6 months. You knew for 6 months that he had $47,000 in gambling debt, and you said nothing to me. I wanted to help him. We were trying to help him with my money. That was the help. My retirement savings, solving his gambling problem. Wesley moved toward me. This is ridiculous. You can afford it. Stop acting like we robbed you. You did rob me. It was a loan. We would have paid you back. With what? My voice rose. First time all story. I could feel the veins in my neck. You have no job. You have no income. You have nothing but debts and a gambling addiction. Daddy, please. And you. I turned to Inez. You stood there at your own wedding. You heard what he called me. You heard them laugh. And you said nothing. My hands started shaking. I gripped the chair arm to steady myself. Couldn't catch my breath properly. Get out. Daddy, get out of my house. After they left, I poured bourbon. My hands shook. Liquid splashed on the counter. I called Hosea. Son, I think I made a mistake. Dad, what's wrong? You sound... I confronted them. Showed them everything. She knew, Hosea, about the gambling. For 6 months. She lied to me. I'm sorry, Dad. I thought I was protecting her. Showing her who she married. But she already knew. She chose him anyway. She chose him over me. What are you going to do? I don't know. I thought revenge would feel different. It just feels empty. Monday morning, Hartley sent an email. Family emergency. Requesting week off. I typed back. Request denied. Return Tuesday, or it's considered job abandonment. At 4 p.m., my office phone rang. Vidna's voice came through like a chainsaw. Mr. King, this is Vidna Howard. We need to talk immediately. Mrs. Howard, what you're doing to my husband is unconscionable. He hasn't slept in a week. He's taking blood pressure medication now. You're killing him. I'm assigning him work. That's my job. You're torturing him. Everyone knows it. You're using your position to punish him for a stupid wedding joke. Your son called me an old pig. You laughed. Your husband laughed. 150 people watched. You want to discuss who's destroying families? That was a mistake. We apologized. No, you got caught. Then you panicked. Very different from apologizing. We're hiring an attorney. We're filing a complaint with the labor board. You can't do this. Do what? Manage my department? Give assignments to my subordinates? Document their poor performance? By all means, hire an attorney. I have documentation for every decision I've made. You're a vindictive old man who can't take a joke. And you're a woman who spent $43,000 of my dollars while insulting me. I'd say we're even, except we're not. Not yet. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. This was escalating. But they'd thrown the first punch. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Mr. King, this is Leonard Shaw from Schwartz & Partners. I've been retained by the Howard family. We need to discuss your workplace conduct immediately. I called Cornelius instead of responding. If they wanted to fight legal, I'd show them legal. Tuesday morning, Hartley walked through my door, looking like death warmed over. Actually, death looked better. Death had probably showered. Fern had whispered, "He looks like he's about to vomit. Should I offer water?" Only if he asks. He stumbled slightly, caught himself on the doorframe, sat heavily in the chair. I have the revisions to the previous report. I slid a new folder across my desk. Thick. Detailed. Different client, financial services firm, merger complications. I need comprehensive risk assessment. Due Friday. That's 3 days. Correct. 3 business days. Problem. His voice broke. I haven't slept. My wife hasn't spoken to me in 4 days. My son's wife won't return our calls. I can't. Can't what? Can't do your job? That's what you're telling me? Could I have an extension, just a few days? No. 3 days. Use your time wisely. Tuesday afternoon, Marcus called. Floyd, I found something. It's not good. Tell me. Your son-in-law took out a loan. $30,000 from Anthony Marchetti. Should I know that name? Tony the Shark Marchetti. He's loan enforcement for the Bellini family. Not technically mob anymore since the old families broke up, but same business model. 40% annual interest. I walked to my window, stared out at the city. Jesus, when did he take this? March 23rd, 3 months ago. It's due June 15th. That's 11 days from now. What happens if he doesn't pay? Marchetti's reputation is educational. Broken fingers first, then escalates. He doesn't kill people. Doesn't need to. Pain is a better incentive than death. I hung up, sat at my desk for 20 minutes. That's not my problem, I told myself. Wesley earned this, but if they hurt him, Inez becomes a widow, or a caretaker. She's 30 years old. Wednesday, their attorney filed a formal harassment complaint with HR. I brought documentation. 3 inches of it. Every assignment I'd given Hartley with comparable assignments to other consultants. Every meeting noted with times and dates. Emily Santos, the HR director, opened my binder, and her eyes got wide. Their attorney had brought a briefcase with a legal pad. Amateur hour. Mr. King, your documentation is remarkable. Frankly, it's the most thorough file I've seen. Then we're done? Officially, yes. The complaint is dismissed. Unofficially? This is creating tension in the office. Maybe consider easing the pressure slightly. I'll take that under advisement. Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. Sat in my dark kitchen at 2 a.m., only the refrigerator humming. Called Hosea. I woke you up. It's fine. Can't sleep? Found out something today. About Wesley. He borrowed money from a loan shark. $30,000. Due in 11 days. If he doesn't pay... Dad, that's not your problem. If they hurt him, Inez becomes a widow, or a caretaker. She's 30 years old. She married him knowing he had gambling debts. She didn't know about the loan shark, neither did I until today. So what are you thinking? You want to help him? I don't know. Every part of me says, let him face the consequences. He earned this. But Inez... Dad, listen to me. Inez made her choice. She lied to you for 6 months. She stood there at her wedding and said nothing while they insulted you. She chose Wesley over you. You don't owe her anything anymore. She's still my daughter. Then she can come to you and ask for help, on her knees, with an apology. But you don't chase her down to save her from her own bad decisions. You're right. Am I? Or are you just telling me what I want to hear? I don't know anymore. Friday afternoon, I watched Hartley's desk through my glass wall. 17 empty coffee cups. His desk looked like a Starbucks graveyard. Saturday night, 9 p.m. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Want to see what happens when people don't pay debts? Fishtown Tavern, 9 p.m. tonight. Come alone. I called Cornelius, read him the message. Don't go. This could be dangerous. Loan sharks don't text fathers-in-law for friendly conversations. It might be Wesley, desperate to talk without Inez knowing. Or it's Marchetti's people, using you as leverage. Either way, it's a trap. I'm going. Floyd, I need to know. If Wesley's in danger, I need to see it. Decide what to do. The Fishtown Tavern sat on Frankfurt Avenue, dive bar territory. I parked across the street at 8:45, watched the entrance. Cornelius texted 3 times. Hosea texted, Dad, please reconsider. This is dangerous. I typed back, location sharing is on. If I don't text by 9:30, call police. At 8:58, I got out of the car. The June evening was warm. Humidity made my shirt stick to my back, or maybe that was nerves. I pushed open the door. Inside was dim. Smelled like beer and fried fish. A dozen people scattered across booths. And in the back corner, someone I recognized. Not Wesley. Not Marchetti's muscle. Someone I hadn't seen in 17 years. Someone who shouldn't be here at all. My former client, Richard Kellerman, the man whose company I'd saved from bankruptcy in 2008, the man who'd paid me $200,000 in consultant fees, the man who'd shaken my hand and said I was the best negotiator he'd ever met, the man who now, apparently, knew about loan sharks and my son-in-law's debts. He stood up, gestured at the empty seat across from him. "Hello, Floyd. We need to talk about Wesley Howard and about what you're really doing to that family." Richard Kellerman stood up from the booth, gestured at the empty seat. 17 years since I'd seen him, but he looked the same. Gray at the temples now, better suit than the last time. "Hello, Floyd. We need to talk about Wesley Howard." I slid into the booth. "How do you know Wesley?" "I don't, but I know Tony Marchetti, and Tony knows you saved my business in 2008. When Wesley mentioned his father-in-law's name," he paused. "Tony called me, asked if Floyd King was worth doing a favor for." "What did you tell him?" "I told him you were the best negotiator I ever met, that you saved my company when nobody else could, that if you were involved, there was a reason." The bar door opened. 2 men walked in. One was massive, 6'4", neck like a tree trunk. The other was smaller, well-dressed for a dive bar, moved like he owned every room he entered. Tony Marchetti. He saw me. Stopped. His face changed. Business to surprise to something like respect. "Floyd King? Jesus Christ." I stood, extended my hand. "Tony, it's been a long time." We shook. Firm grip. Men who understood each other. "Wesley, you didn't mention your father-in-law was Floyd King." Wesley lifted his face from the table. Bruised jaw, split lip crusted with dried blood. "I didn't think it mattered." 2008, Tony said to me. "My restaurant chain. Banks were calling loans. You restructured everything. Saved my legitimate businesses. You paid me well for the work. I paid you what you were worth, which wasn't enough." He gestured at Wesley. "This changes things." We talked for 90 minutes. I negotiated like I used to. Calm, logical, finding the pressure points. Tony respected it. Respected me. The debt restructured. $36,000 over 2 years. $1,500 monthly. $6,000 forgiven as a favor to me. On one condition, Wesley enters real therapy. Gamblers Anonymous and private counseling. Misses 1 session, original terms apply. Wesley signed the agreement with shaking hands. Took 3 tries. "Thank you," he whispered to me. I didn't respond. Next day, Sunday afternoon, I summoned them all to my house. Hartley, Vidna, Wesley, Inez. They arrived like prisoners walking to sentencing. I'd arranged chairs in my living room. Formal, deliberate. Laid typed documents on the coffee table. "I've brought you here to discuss terms." "Terms?" Hartley's voice was hollow. "I resolved Wesley's loan shark situation. He's alive. He'll stay alive if he meets conditions. Now we address everything else." Vidna started to speak. I held up my hand. "First, Hartley, you resign from Quantum Crisis Solutions effective Monday, voluntarily. I'll provide a neutral reference letter. That's my career. Sign here." His hand trembled. Took 3 attempts like Wesley the night before, but he signed. "Second, Wesley enters gambling therapy. 6 months minimum. I'll pay the therapist directly. Miss 1 session, Tony's original terms apply. Understood?" Wesley barely whispered. "Yes." "Third, Inez, this is about your future. You can stay with Wesley or leave. I won't pressure you either way, but I won't financially support your marriage. You're adults. Figure it out." "You're punishing her," Vidna started. "I'm giving her a choice, which is more than Wesley gave her when he coached her to steal from me." I slid the last document forward. "Fourth, you will send an email to all 150 wedding guests. You will apologize for calling me an old pig. You will admit you were wrong. You will acknowledge I paid for the wedding. All 3 of you will sign it." Hartley looked at the draft email. "That's public humiliation." "Yes, it is. Just like you humiliated me publicly. I believe in proportional response." "This is blackmail," Vidna said. "Call it what you want. I call it consequences. You had choices. You made them. Now you live with them." They signed. All 3. Vidna crying into a tissue, mascara running. Wesley staring at the floor the entire time. Hartley's jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. After they left, Inez stayed. stood on my porch, arms wrapped around herself despite the warm evening. Dad, I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Think about what you want. What you actually want. Are you going to forgive me? I don't know yet. Ask me in 6 months, after you've figured out who you are without someone telling you. Will you talk to me if I call? I'll always be your father, Inez, but I can't make your choices for you. Choose your life. I'll be here when you're ready. I love you, Daddy. I know you do. That's not the question. The question is, do you respect me? That's what I need to know. She left. I watched her drive away, didn't wave. Inside, the signed documents sat on my coffee table. Evidence of justice. Proof of consequences. But also proof that I'd lost something I couldn't get back. I poured bourbon. The house felt too quiet. My phone sat dark. No messages. Tomorrow they'd send their email. 150 people would see them apologize. My phone would probably ring. Friends wanting to know what happened. And I'd tell them the truth. I won. And it felt exactly as empty as I'd feared it would. The apology email went out on Monday. By Wednesday, my inbox was full. Floyd, I had no idea what you endured. They should be ashamed. Margaret R. This public apology seems vindictive. Couldn't this have been handled privately? Thomas H. Everyone had opinions. None of them had written a check for $43,000. I deleted the emails without responding. 2 weeks later, Hartley started at a smaller firm in Wilmington. Senior analyst instead of senior consultant. 45-minute commute. $35,000 pay cut. I heard about it through Fern, who still texted me office gossip. Wesley attended therapy religiously. I got weekly confirmations from his counselor. 6 weeks, 12 sessions, not one missed. First time in 3 years he'd gone that long without gambling. Mid-July, Inez came to visit. I opened the door before she knocked. Had been watching from the window. It's your home, too. Always will be. She came in, sat on the couch where Wesley had sat that first night I gave them money. Different lifetime ago. I've been staying at Rachel's apartment, my friend from work. I know. Wesley's going to therapy every week, says it's helping. That's good. But Dad, I'm leaving him. Not forever, maybe. But for now, I need to figure out if I love him or if I love the idea of being married. That's a wise decision. Are you still angry at me? I'm disappointed. Anger fades. Disappointment lasts longer. Will you forgive me? Eventually, but Inez, you need to forgive yourself first. Figure out who you are when you're not trying to please someone else. She cried. I pulled her into a hug. Brief, but genuine. First physical contact since the wedding. Both of us trembled. 3 days later, a letter arrived from Quantum Crisis Solutions. Thick envelope, company letterhead, early retirement package, enhanced severance, full benefits, non-disparagement agreement. I read it twice. They were pushing me out. Gently, expensively, but definitely out. The Hartley situation had created workplace tension. They wanted to avoid ongoing conflict of interest. I called Cornelius. They're buying you out, he said. The package is generous. It's still being pushed out. I won against Hartley and lost against the company. Sometimes enforcing boundaries costs something. It cost me my career. You're 68. Most people retire at 65. I liked my work. Then find new work, or actually retire. Spend time with Hosea. Rebuild with Inez. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it's possible. You won, Floyd. You kept your dignity. You proved they couldn't treat you like garbage. You saved your daughter from becoming a widow. That's winning. Then why does it feel like losing? Because real victory isn't clean. Welcome to being human. I signed the papers. My last day at the office was early August. Fern cried while helping me pack. 3 decades of accumulated items fit in 2 boxes. Chess set from my desk. Photos. Awards that didn't mean much anymore. Everyone knows why you're leaving, Fern said. Let them know. Some people think you went too far. Some people didn't pay for a wedding and get called a pig. I taped the second box shut. Everyone's got opinions when it's not their dignity on the line. I carried the boxes out. Didn't look back. Late August evening, I sat on my porch playing chess with Aileen. The humidity had finally broken. First comfortable evening in weeks. How does it feel? She asked, moving her rook. The aftermath of your revenge? Like I thought it would. Empty. But you won. Did I? I got them to apologize. Got Hartley out. Saved Wesley from getting killed. But I lost my job. Nearly lost my daughter. Spent 3 months angry instead of living. I moved my queen. Checkmate, by the way. She stared at the board. I didn't even see that coming. The best moves are always invisible until the last moment. Is that a metaphor? Everything's a metaphor if you think about it long enough. My phone rang. Hosea. Dad, I'm booking a flight, coming out next week. You don't have to do that. I want to. Haven't seen you since before the wedding. We can go to a Phillies game. Remember when I was 12 and you took me to Veterans Stadium? I smiled. Genuinely. First time in months. You spilled nachos on the guy in front of us. He deserved it. He was rooting for the Mets. That's not how it works. Sure it is. Week from Tuesday? I'll pick you up at the airport. After he hung up, I sat there watching the sun set over Chestnut Hill, my chessboard on the side table. Bourbon glass in hand, half empty. Eileen had gone home 10 minutes ago. The evening was warm, cicadas starting their song. My phone showed Hosea's text. Flight booked. See you Tuesday. Somewhere in this city, Hartley sat at a job he hated. Vidna pretended her life wasn't falling apart. Wesley sat in a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. Inez tried to figure out who she was, and I was here, victorious and empty, vindicated and alone, right and tired. Was it worth it? $43,000, 3 months of planning, 1 destroyed career, 1 damaged relationship with my daughter, 1 forced retirement. For what? An apology email, consequences, boundaries enforced. I still don't know if the price was right, but I know this. Next time someone disrespects me, I won't stay silent. That night at the wedding, when Wesley called me a pig and Inez said nothing, I had a choice. Speak up or stay quiet. I chose quiet. That was my first mistake. Everything that followed was me trying to fix that one moment of silence. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I didn't go far enough. But I went, and that's something. Silence is a choice, and I won't choose it again. I took a sip of bourbon, watched the sky turn orange and pink and purple. The glass caught the light, amber liquid glowing. My phone buzzed. Text from Inez. Thank you for today, Dad. I love you. I typed back. Love you too. Take your time. Not perfect, not fixed, but possible. That was as close to a happy ending as real life gets, and maybe it was enough. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.